Hi, and thanks for watching this video about how to beat the private parking charge notice. I'm not a legal professional, and this video is not legal advice or indeed any kind of advice, but it is a real-life example of how aggressive, unethical and thieving parking companies will behave, and which shows that if you stick to your guns and don't back down by paying when you're threatened, then they will back down. Many of these demands are just invoices. You have been sent what is usually an extortion invoice, massively escalating your original payment for words like notice, contravention, ANPR, breaching, etc., etc. My original fee of about £1, £1.10 had been escalated to a new £100 invoice, an increase of 10,000%. Yes, 10,000%. Of course, I could reduce this to £60 if I paid within 28 days, and this is what many thousands of people do. People are basically blackmailed and intimidated into paying at what seems like a discounted rate or are fearful of court action and higher fines. But as we said, these are not fines, but simply invoices for using their land. Except these are massively bloated amounts masquerading as a quasi-legal and enforceable charge because you have breached their nonsense rules. In fact, I used only 16 minutes of my 60 minutes bought time. No, this was all because I contravened, wait for it, the parking company's own concocted fairyland rules about data I needed to enter in the machine. The next reply to my appeal, itself a fake process, I appealed on the basis I had made a simple mistake. But anyway, I had paid, I had understayed, and it would be reasonable for them to drop this additional invoice. They persisted. I stubbornly refused to cave, and 7 years later they have bottled it rather than be embarrassed in court. My research told me that a constant stream of letters would ensue, all more threatening and escalating the amount demanded, whilst trying pathetically to scare me with legalese and threats of court action. And this did happen, and it went on and on. In addition were dozens of calls which I blocked and which eventually dried up. I may have made the mistake of giving my number when I appealed, so that's lesson number one. Don't put faith in the appeal system because it's largely a con and a way of getting your data. And so it went on for nearly 4.5 years when I received a claim form from the County Court Business Centre. This is less scary than it looks. It's a small claims court. Now for £286.76. I'm clearly hoping this will make me really scared and force me to pay up an astronomically inflated claim that is now nearly 30,000% up from the original parking fee. This is clearly a big scam to extort money from the general public. My defence to the case was based on the template provided at Money Saving Expert, which cited case law where such claims have been thrown out or won by defendants. The case finally got to a hearing date, and before I even knew about it, I had the following email letter on the 30th of January 2023, 6 years and 10 months later, to say their client was discontinuing their claim. In other words, they were bottling it rather than go before a judge. Surprise, surprise. In the post was a letter from the court giving a hearing date of 15th of March, nearing the 7-year point. So this is a tactic: push the intimidation with calls, escalating demands, fake legalese letters, and threatening an actual court action right up to the point where they have to come forward and justify themselves. I just have to take comfort from the idea that my case cost these scammers time and money in admin costs over nearly 7 years of chasing me. Why do people need to make their money by conning others? Can't the muppets in these shady enterprises get decent jobs? There's a summary of what I've learned. If possible, I always avoid privately operated car parks. They are all out to screw you one way or the other. If we park on private land and do receive a parking charge notice or an invoice, which is different from a penalty charge notice issued by councils, we have to remember that it is an invoice and not a fine. These companies do not have the legal right to issue fines. As such, this is a business contract issue between us and the parking company. Most of these cases do not go to court as they are unenforceable, according to MoneySavingExpert.com. It's important as well to do research before paying. If we can't be bothered to do this and simply pay, we are only encouraging this massive scam masquerading as a legal process to go on. It's always good to look at the Money Saving Expert website. It will guide you as to what to do. My final words are these. If you went into a restaurant, had a meal based on the menu prices and the normal expectations of eating a meal and behaving in a restaurant, but then afterwards the manager said the bill is now 10,000% increased because you weren't wearing a clown's costume according to our terms and conditions, what would you do? There will probably be some choice words going back and forth and a swift exit. Now apply that to a parking scenario.
I'm just inquiring about a claim. I'm the defendant. I just want to know what the current status is.
I've actually discontinued this claim.
Right.
So they've actually decided that they don't want to proceed with it anymore.
Right, okay. So I don't need to worry about this claim anymore?
No, there's nothing further you need to do. There's nothing further that you'll get from us in terms of anything that you need to